I still remember the exact moment my electricity bill hit $240 in a single month, and I just sat there staring at the paper like it had personally insulted me. That was the night everything changed. That was the night I walked out to my garage, looked at an old dusty car alternator sitting on a shelf, and thought, what if this thing right here could end my relationship with the power company forever? I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like one of those wild internet claims that gets debunked in 5 minutes. But stay with me, because what happened next is not some magic trick. It's not a scam, and it's not one of those free energy myths you've probably rolled your eyes at before. This is real engineering using real parts, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how a simple car alternator can be turned into a serious source of home power without ever touching a single solar panel. Before you assume this is going to be some over-the-top infomercial, let me be completely honest with you right from the start. This is not about pulling energy out of thin air. Nothing in this world works that way, and if anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. What this video is about is something far more interesting than a fantasy. It's about taking a piece of junkyard steel and copper wire, something most people literally throw away, and turning it into a small power plant that runs on nothing but motion. Wind, water, or even a bit of manual effort. That's it. That's the secret. And once you understand how simple the concept really is, you're going to look at every old alternator sitting in a scrapyard completely differently. Now, if you're new here, welcome to Boring Economic Update, the channel where we take complicated money-saving ideas and break them down into plain, simple English that actually makes sense. We're not here to hype you up with fake promises. We're here to show you real ways people are cutting costs, building smarter systems, and taking a little more control over their lives. So if that sounds like something you care about, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel is going to keep bringing you ideas like this one, week after week. All right. With that out of the way, let's get into the story, because this one starts in a place you wouldn't expect. It starts with my neighbor, a retired mechanic named Walter, who has spent almost 50 years working with engines, alternators, generators, anything with moving metal parts. Walter is the kind of guy who doesn't trust anything he can't take apart with his own hands. When he heard about my outrageous electricity bill, he didn't offer sympathy. He offered a challenge. He said, "You've got a $2,000 power bill problem and a $5 alternator sitting right there in your garage. Why haven't you connected the two?" I laughed at first, because in my head, an alternator was just that mysterious metal thing bolted to a car engine that somehow keeps the battery charged. I never thought of it as something that could power a house, even in a small way. But Walter wasn't joking, and over the next few weeks he walked me through exactly why this old overlooked piece of machinery deserves so much more credit than it gets. Here's the first thing that surprised me, and an alternator is not some complicated, mysterious device. At its core, it's incredibly simple. Inside that metal casing is a spinning magnet called a rotor, surrounded by coils of copper wire called a stator. When the rotor spins fast enough inside those coils, it creates a moving magnetic field, and that moving magnetic field pushes electrons through the copper wire. That movement of electrons is what we call electricity. It's the exact same basic principle used in massive power plants around the world, just on a much, much smaller and more personal scale. The only real difference between the alternator in your old car and the giant generators at a power station is size, and the source of spinning force. In your car, the engine spins it. But here's the key question Walter asked me that changed everything. What if something else could spin it instead? That single question opened up a world I had never even considered. If an engine can spin an alternator to create power, then so can wind, so can flowing water, so can a bicycle pedal system if you're determined enough. Suddenly, this wasn't about cars anymore. This was about taking a device built for one purpose and repurposing it for something completely different, something that could quietly work in the background of my home day after day without me paying a cent to any utility company. I started looking at alternators sitting in junkyards with a completely different kind of curiosity. I wasn't seeing broken car parts anymore. I was seeing tiny, dormant power plants waiting for someone to give them a reason to spin again. Walter explained that alternators are actually more efficient at converting motion into usable electricity than a lot of people realize, especially compared to some of the cheap, small-scale solar setups people buy off the shelf. Solar panels depend on sunlight, which means cloudy days, winter months, and nighttime all become a problem. But wind doesn't care what time it is. Flowing water doesn't stop because the sky is gray. And that's when I started to understand the real appeal of this idea. It's not that an alternator is magically better than solar in every single situation. It's that it opens up an entirely different, often ignored path to generating your own electricity, one that doesn't require you to spend thousands of dollars on brand new panels and complicated installation crews. As Walter kept talking, he mentioned something that genuinely stuck with me. He said most people don't realize how much usable technology gets thrown away every single year. sitting quietly in junkyards, garages, and old barns completely forgotten. Alternators are one of the most common examples. Millions of cars get scrapped and their alternators, still fully functional in many cases, end up ignored, sold for almost nothing as scrap metal. Meanwhile, people are out here spending huge amounts of money trying to build home energy systems from scratch when a piece of the solution might already be sitting 15 minutes away at the local junkyard, priced like it's worthless. That idea sat with me for days. I kept thinking about how much of modern life is built around convenience, around buying the newest, shiniest solution instead of asking whether something older, simpler, and already sitting around could do the job just as well. And that's exactly the mindset this whole project forced me into. Instead of researching the latest solar panel deals, I started researching RPM requirements, wiring diagrams, voltage regulation, and how much spinning force an alternator actually needs before it starts producing real usable power. It felt less like shopping and more like solving a puzzle one piece at a time. What really pulled me in, though, wasn't just the technical side of it, it was the feeling of independence that started forming in my head. The electric company sends you a bill every single month, and most of us just pay it without questioning it, because what other choice do we have? But standing there in my garage, holding this old alternator that Walter handed me like it was some kind of hidden treasure, I started to feel like maybe there was another option. Maybe I didn't have to just accept whatever number showed up on that bill every month. Maybe, with enough patience and the right setup, I could build something that quietly worked in the background, turning motion into electricity, day after day, without asking me for a single dollar. Of course, at that point, I still had no real idea how to actually put this whole thing together. I didn't know how to safely wire an alternator into a usable home power system. I didn't know what parts I'd need to store that electricity, or how to make sure I wasn't about to accidentally damage something, or worse, hurt myself. All I had was curiosity, an old alternator, and a retired mechanic next door who seemed way more excited about this project than I expected him to be. And that curiosity is exactly what pulled me into the next stage of this journey. The stage where theory turns into action, where a rusty old car part starts becoming something entirely new. Because what happened next in my garage is where this story really starts to get interesting. But before jumping into any kind of power source, Walter insisted we understand the alternator itself properly, and this is where things got genuinely fascinating for me. He explained that most car alternators need a certain minimum spinning speed before they start producing any meaningful voltage. It's not like flipping a switch where either it's on or it's off. It's a gradual thing. Spin it slowly, and you get almost nothing. Spin it fast enough, and it starts pushing out real usable electrical current. That's actually why cars use pulley systems and belts, to take the engine's spinning speed and multiply it up to something the alternator can actually work with efficiently. Suddenly, this wasn't just about finding something to spin the alternator. It was about finding something that could spin it fast enough, consistently for hours at a time. This is where the project started feeling less like a fun weekend idea and more like an actual engineering puzzle, the kind that keeps you thinking about it while you're lying in bed at night. Walter and I started sketching out a small pulley system, something that could take a slower, steadier source of motion and speed it up, using different sized wheels connected by a belt, the same basic principle used in machinery for over 100 years. It's almost funny how something so old-fashioned, so mechanical, so far removed from modern flashy technology ended up being the exact missing piece for what I was trying to build. While we were figuring out the mechanical side, Walter kept hammering home another important lesson, one that I think a lot of people skip when they get excited about a project like this. He said, "The alternator is only half of your system. The other half is what you do with the electricity once you've got it." That statement completely shifted my thinking. Up until that point, I had been so focused on the idea of generating power that I hadn't really thought about what happens after that. Electricity from a spinning alternator isn't neat and steady like what comes out of your wall outlet. It fluctuates. It needs to be regulated, stored, and eventually converted into something your household devices can actually use safely. That's when Walter introduced me to the concept of a basic charge controller and a deep cycle battery, and honestly, this is where a lot of the real magic of the whole project started to click into place for me. The idea is beautifully simple once you understand it. The alternator spins and produces electricity. That electricity flows into a battery for storage. A charge controller sits in between to make sure the battery doesn't get overcharged or damaged. And then, when you actually need power, you draw it out of that battery in a controlled, steady way. Suddenly, the whole system stopped being some mysterious contraption and started looking like something any determined person could realistically build in their own garage. What struck me most during this stage wasn't the technical details, even though those were fascinating. It was the growing sense that I was uncovering something that had been hiding in plain sight my entire life. Alternators have been sitting in junkyards for decades. Water has been flowing through streams and drainage systems for just as long. Batteries have existed in basic forms for over a century. None of these things are new. None of them are cutting-edge inventions. And yet, somehow, combining them in this specific way felt like discovering a secret that modern convenience had quietly buried under decades of just paying the electric bill without asking questions. Walter told me something else that stuck with me for a long time. He said most people think self-sufficiency requires expensive, complicated technology, big, shiny panels on the roof, expensive battery walls mounted in the garage, professional installers with clipboards and price quotes. But he said the truth is a lot messier and a lot more accessible than that. Real self-sufficiency, historically, has always come from understanding basic mechanical principles and being willing to get your hands a little dirty. The alternator sitting in my garage wasn't valuable because it was advanced. It was valuable because it was simple, reliable, and already fully understood by mechanics like Walter for generations. As we kept working through the plan, sketching pulley ratios, talking about where I could realistically set up a small, controlled water flow on my property, and figuring out what size battery bank I'd actually need, I started noticing something happening to the way I thought about my electricity bill. It stopped feeling like an unavoidable monthly tax and started feeling like a problem with an actual, physical, buildable solution. That mental shift, more than any wire or bolt or battery, was the real turning point of this entire project. Because once you stop seeing your power bill as something fixed and start seeing it as something you can physically engineer your way around, everything changes. And that's exactly where the real construction phase begins, where sketches turn into actual metal and wire, where theory finally meets the moment I flip that first switch and find out whether all of this thinking, all of this planning, actually produces real, usable electricity. What happened when we finally got that alternator spinning for the first time, and what the numbers on my meter actually looked like afterward, is something I promise you're not going to expect. The day we finally tested the system, I remember my hands were actually shaking a little, and not because it was cold outside. Walter had rigged up a simple test setup in his garage using a small motor to simulate consistent spinning force, just to prove the concept before we moved anything out to the water source on my property. He clamped the alternator into a makeshift stand, connected the pulley system we had built from spare parts, wired it through a basic charge controller, and hooked that up to an old deep cycle battery he had lying around from a previous project. Then he looked at me and said, "All right, let's see if two grease-covered old guys just solved your electricity bill." I laughed, but honestly my stomach was in knots. He flipped the switch on the small motor, the pulley system started turning, and the alternator began to spin. At first, nothing seemed to happen, and for a second I thought maybe this whole idea had been a fun story but not a real solution. But then Walter pointed at a small voltage meter clipped onto the battery terminals, and I watched the numbers slowly climb. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some Hollywood moment with sparks flying everywhere. It was quiet, steady, almost boring in the best possible way. The alternator was doing exactly what it was designed to do, just powered by something completely different than an engine. Electricity was flowing into that battery, and for the first time, this stopped being a theory in my head and became something real, something happening right in front of me. Over the following weeks, we moved the whole setup out to a small, controlled water flow on my property. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, just a steady, modest current that had been sitting there unused my entire life. We adjusted the pulley ratios, tightened belts, made small mechanical improvements here and there, the kind of trial and error that Walter clearly enjoyed far more than I expected him to. Slowly, that system started running on its own, day after day, quietly converting the natural movement of water into stored electrical power, sitting in a battery bank in my garage. No engine noise, no fuel costs, no monthly bill tied to it. Just water doing what water has always done, now finally being put to use. I won't sit here and tell you this system replaced my entire household power needs overnight, because that wouldn't be honest. And this channel has never been about exaggerating results just to sound impressive. What it did do was chip away steadily at my dependence on the grid, powering smaller loads, charging devices, running certain appliances, and slowly reducing that monthly number that used to make me wince every time I opened the mail. More importantly, it changed the way I look at every piece of old, forgotten machinery sitting around. That alternator wasn't garbage. It was a solution waiting for someone to ask the right question. Looking back on this whole journey, what strikes me most isn't the electricity itself. It's the mindset shift that happened along the way. We live in a world that constantly pushes us toward buying the newest, most expensive solution to every problem we face. Need power independence? Buy expensive solar panels. Need a backup system? Buy an expensive generator. And look, those solutions absolutely work for plenty of people, and there's nothing wrong with choosing them. But this project reminded me that sometimes the answer isn't sitting on a store shelf with a big price tag attached. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in a garage or a junkyard or a neighbor's memory of how things used to be done before convenience made us forget the basics. Walter, at one point during this whole process, said something that I think sums up this entire story better than anything I could come up with myself. He said, "People didn't get smarter over the last 100 years. They just got lazier about learning how things actually work." That hit me hard because it's true. Somewhere along the way, most of us stopped asking how our electricity gets made, how our cars run, how our homes function, and we just accepted monthly bills as an unavoidable part of life. This project, this old alternator spinning quietly by a small stream of water, became my way of pushing back against that, just a little bit, one spinning coil of copper wire at a time. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's not necessarily that you need to run out and build this exact setup tomorrow. It's that you should start looking at the world around you a little differently. That old alternator sitting in a junkyard, that unused stream running through a property, that forgotten mechanical knowledge sitting in the heads of people like Walter, all of it represents opportunity most of us walk right past every single day without a second thought. The solutions to a lot of our modern problems aren't always new. Sometimes they're old ideas waiting patiently for someone curious enough to dust them off and ask, what if this still works? This entire project started with a $240 bill that made me angry enough to walk into my garage and stare at an old car part I'd been ignoring for years. It ended with me understanding something much bigger than electricity. It ended with me realizing that independence, real independence, often comes from understanding basic principles rather than buying expensive shortcuts. Walter didn't teach me how to build a power system. He taught me how to see potential in things everyone else had already given up on. And honestly, that lesson has stuck with me far longer than any voltage reading ever could. Now here's where I need your help, because this channel only grows when people like you decide this story is worth sharing with someone else. If this video made you think differently, even for a moment, about that old junk sitting in your garage or that stream running behind your property, I want you to drop a comment right now and tell me what you're thinking about repurposing. Seriously, scroll down and type it out, because I read every single one of them, and some of the best future video ideas on this channel have come directly from comments left by people just like you. And if this story genuinely gave you something to think about, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you know who's tired of watching their electricity bill climb every single month, someone who might need to hear that there's another way to think about power. Send it to that one friend who still has an old alternator sitting in their garage collecting dust, because chances are they have no idea what it's actually capable of. Boring Economic Update is built on stories exactly like this one, real, practical, sometimes overlooked ideas that put a little more control back into your hands. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what we uncover next. And I promise you, the next story is going to make you look at something ordinary in your own life in a completely new way. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the very next video.